Hello and a very good evening. Welcome to the Nightline. I am Razi Ahmad.
And I'm Cheryl Shamina. Here are the headlines.
The Employees Provident Fund, or EPF, has clarified that there are no changes to the withdrawal criteria under i-Sinar.
As such, every process or policy changes or enhancements will undergo due process and careful consideration and presented to the EPF Board of Directors for approval.
This was said in a statement issued recently in response to various media reports regarding the request for the removal of all criteria and conditions set under i-Sinar. EPF added it always took into account every request and suggestion from stakeholders, while the EPF welcomes any feedback on i-Sinar. It is expected that a substantial portion of the 8 million members eligible to apply will fall under Category 1, where approval would be automatically given without need for any supporting documents. Online applications will start from December 21, 2020, and payment will be made by mid-January 2021.
Now, Brunei will consider a proposal to establish a reciprocal green lane with Malaysia in an effort to revive the two countries' economies, which have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin conveyed the message to the High Commissioner of Brunei Darussalam to Malaysia, Ambassador Datuk Paduka Alaihuddin Muhammad Taha, when the latter paid him the courtesy call at his office in Parliament yesterday. In a post on his Facebook page, Muhyiddin said Alaihuddin visited him to bid farewell as his tenure in Malaysia will end later this month. He said in the meeting, they also discussed efforts to further enhance existing bilateral relations between the two countries in various aspects, including challenges and measures to overcome the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister said Malaysia and Brunei are in an agreement as neighbouring countries and should not let the pandemic be an obstacle to further enhance existing cooperation. Muhyiddin also expressed his gratitude to the Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, for granting his request to pay an official visit to the country. He also thanked Alaihuddin for his contributions, services and friendship during the 6 years tenure in Malaysia.
The government plans to upgrade the E-Kasih system to more accurately gather information to better assist the poor next year.
And Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said 6.8 million ringgit will be channeled for this purpose.
Saya sedar bahawa sistem lama ini tidak berapa berkesan. Sebab itu langkah-langkah untuk memperkemaskan dengan penggunaan teknologi baru supaya data-data itu mestilah lebih tepat. Dan usaha dibuat untuk menentukan supaya kaedah baru akan digunakan atas nama E-Kasih juga. Ya, tetapi tidak seperti E-Kasih yang lama, dan saya percaya bila kita laksanakan ini maka segala maklumat yang terperinci di seluruh kawasan di negara kita, baik di bandar ataupun luar bandar ini, dapat kita kumpulkan.
At the moment, Muhyiddin said the government was in the midst of collecting data on those who had just fallen under the poor and extremely poor categories due to the impact of COVID-19 and the implementation of the movement control order in the country. He said a total of 101,385 individuals had claimed the benefit of the unemployment insurance as of December 3rd, with 52% of them being those earning 2,000 ringgit and below. He said various programs and initiatives were being implemented to help the group, including monthly financial aid, Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, and cost of living aid programs.
Kerajaan sentiasa memberikan fokus kepada agenda pembasmian kemiskinan dalam Pelan Pembangunan Negara sehingga kini. Dan sehubungan itu, kerajaan pada 2 September 2020 telah mewujudkan sebuah jawatan kuasa khas Kabinet menangani kemiskinan bagi membincangkan perkara-perkara yang berkaitan dengan dasar dan strategi serta inisiatif pembasmian kemiskinan, termasuklah peranan kementerian dan agensi yang terlibat untuk memastikan golongan yang memerlukan mendapat bantuan dan tidak terlepas daripada jaringan keselamatan sosial.
The E-Kasih system, or National Poverty Data Bank System, is a national-level database system developed to support the planning, implementing and monitoring of the country's poverty eradication programs.
Right. Now, the Ministry of Rural Development, or KPLB, is implementing various infrastructure projects involving water, electricity supply and roads in the rural Sarawak under the 11th Malaysia Plan. Its Minister, Datuk Dr. Abdul Latif Ahmad, said these include 15 projects under the Rural Electricity Supply Program. Of these 15 projects, a few are under constructions, while some others had been completed. On the implementation status of the Rural Water Supply Program, he said a total of 40 projects were being implemented at an overall cost of 2.4 billion ringgit. He added 11 of the projects had been completed, 13 were under construction and 16 others were at the design level. He also said 64 projects were implemented under the Rural Road Program. He revealed the projects are currently at the consultant appointment and design levels, while 3 are in the procurement stage, 9 projects are under construction, and 13 projects had been fully completed.
The Ministry of Infrastructure and Port Development, MIPD, will upgrade and repair 331 kilometers of coastal roads in the state.
Now, Assistant Minister of Infrastructure and Port Development Sarawak, Dato' Julaihi Narawi, said the project will be divided into 23 packages.
Jalan pesisir yang sedia ada perlu juga kita baik pulih dan naik taraf. Kerana jalan pesisir sekarang panjangnya ialah 896 km dan kita telah mengenal pasti 331 km di laluan sepanjang laluan jalan pesisir yang perlu kita baik pulih, yang perlu kita naik taraf. Jadi ianya kita bahagikan kepada 23 package. Dan insyaAllah kita nak tambah kepada 24 lah. Setakat ini 23 package dan saya telah minta supaya satu lagi package ditambah untuk dijadikan 24 package.
Reviewing the matter, he said 5 work packages have been offered to the contractor through an open tender. This step must be taken to ensure the coastal roads are in good condition and that consumer safety comes first.
Permukaan jalan raya yang tidak rata, kita dapati ada jalan yang rosak. Jadi ini perlu kita baik pulih dan kita naik taraf. Kalaupun ada kerja-kerja yang dilakukan, misalnya kalau jalan itu rosak, belum lagi ditawarkan kepada kontraktor untuk dibaik pulih dan naik taraf. Kalaupun ada kerja-kerja untuk menampung yang rosak dan untuk menjadikan jalan itu selesai digunakan, ianya merupakan langkah sementara sebelum kerja-kerja sebenar yang dilakukan untuk membaik pulih dan jalan raya menaik taraf jalan raya tersebut dilakukan.
Right, the decision to lift the Conditional Movement Control Order, or CMCO, in most states and districts nationwide will allow the business sector to reopen and stimulate domestic economic activities.
Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister KPDN HEP Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said the decision would enable the continuation of the ministry's activities and initiatives. These include the Buy Malaysian Products campaign, KBBM, and the Mega Sales Program, PJM, launched in July apart from the Domestic Franchise Development Tour Program. Apart from that, he said all state KPDN HP offices would also be conducting the same initiatives, such as the 2021 Back to School campaign. It is a program to assist victims of disasters, food bank for institutions of higher learning, IPT students, as well as monitoring and inspecting business premises. On the postponement of cases under the Tribunal for Consumer Claims Malaysia, Nanta said an action plan has been established for implementation.
Now, Petroleum Nasional Berhad, or Petronas, has emphasized that its strong fundamentals have enabled the company to withstand volatility and shocks in the market.
The national oil firm said it was able to maintain its strong financial profile and consistently maintain a conservative financial policy, stringent capital discipline, and focused on cost optimization towards ensuring the preservation of liquidity. Petronas said its ratings continue to be capped to the sovereign rating so long as the company sustainably generates more than 10% of the government's revenues under Fitch's government-related entities rating criteria. This is the first time the ratings agency has downgraded the country's sovereign rating since the 1997-98 Asian financial crisis. Meanwhile, Petronas SCP, as assessed by Fitch, has remained unchanged since 2016 at AA-, which is 4 notches above that of the sovereign rating compared with the previous 3 notches above. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTAC, is exploring the possibility of having travel bubble arrangements with green zone countries during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Minister Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri said the ministry had held consultations with several government agencies and tourism industry players' representatives. It is to identify mechanisms to reopen cross-border tourism activities in a safe and systematic manner.
Antara mekanisme yang sedang diterokai oleh kementerian termasuklah destinasi ke destinasi dan pulau-pulau serta lawatan dalam kumpulan kecil ataupun small group tours dengan izin khusus bagi aktiviti pelancongan minat khas, special interest ataupun niche tourism seperti golf, selam, scuba, birdwatching, hiking dan caving yang mana itinerary perjalanan diluluskan terlebih dahulu oleh pihak berkuasa yang terlibat serta urusan perjalanan diuruskan sepenuhnya oleh syarikat agensi pelancongan berlesen.
She said this on the winding up debate on 2021 supply bill at the committee stage for the ministry in the Dewan Rakyat. Elaborating further, she said these were among initiatives contained in the tourism and culture recovery plans in effort to restore the country's tourism sector, which has been severely affected by COVID-19. These initiatives would help restore public confidence in travel and tourism activities. It will revitalize domestic tourism and encourage industry players to offer more creative and attractive travel packages through digital platforms.
Right, only 5 of the 19 projects implemented by the Works Ministry in Sarawak are still active.
However, the projects do not include the Sarawak-Pan-Borneo Highway mega project worth 16.11 billion ringgit.
5 projek yang masih aktif tersebut, 2 projek sedang dalam pelaksanaan, manakala 3 projek masih dalam peringkat persediaan.
Aiden Shazli said the ministry was aware that the COVID-19 pandemic had affected the construction of many projects. However, new extensions and timelines had been granted for the projects. On the dependence on foreign labor for the KKR projects in Sarawak, this is what he had to say.
Jumlah pekerja asing bagi projek-projek pembangunan kementerian ini di Sarawak selain daripada projek lebuh raya Pan Borneo adalah amat sedikit, iaitu sekadar 21% dan tidak menjejaskan kemajuan projek.
A year into a global battle against the coronavirus, the United Nations General Assembly declared December 27 as the International Day of Epidemic Preparedness. The day is meant to ensure lessons are learned for any future health crisis.
The 193-member General Assembly adopted a resolution by consensus on Monday that recognizes the need to raise the level of preparedness in order to have the earliest and most adequate response to any epidemic that may arise. UN International Crisis Group UN Director Richard Gowan said that given that the General Assembly have previously declared international days devoted to chess, yoga and toilets, it only seemed fair the epidemic should have their day too. He described the symbolic move as an attempt by the General Assembly to appear relevant, as a lot of smaller and poorer states worry that they won't have any part in real decisions about the coronavirus vaccine or recovery. The UN resolution stresses the importance of international cooperation and multilateralism.
Now, the commercial settlement agreement inked between the Sarawak and Petroleum i-Sinar Berhad, or Petronas, earlier today signals a new beginning for the oil and gas industry in the state.
SPECA President Datuk Rahman Lariwo said the state government's greater involvement in oil and gas exploration and production as per the agreement should pave the way for more local companies in Sarawak to be involved in the industry's development. The agreement signifies another important milestone and also marks the beginning of active involvement by state-owned oil and gas company Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, Petros, in the near future. With Petros playing its role as a state entity, other players will be open to involvement in downstream and upstream oil and gas activities.
A 43-year-old grocery shop owner was severely hurt while his employees suffered bruises after they were robbed by 4 individuals at their convenience shop along Jalan SEMARIANG on Monday.
According to Kuching District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner of Police Muhyiddin Awang, when contacted, confirmed the incident.
So jadi pemilik kedai ni dia telah cuba untuk meminta dewan ni beredar, tapi datang pula 3 lagi rakan lelaki tersebut telah menyamun kedai tersebut dan mencederakan lelaki pemilik kedai itu sendirilah, yang mana kecederaan telah berlaku di bahagian belakang kepala dia. So jadi kita masih lagi membuat siasatan sama ada kejadian ini mungkin berpunca daripada sesuatu apa hal, jadi masih ada lagi dalam siasatan sama ada melibatkan samseng ataupun ada unsur-unsur gangsterisme dan sebagainya. Masih kami dalam siasatan lagi. Sementara itu pemilik kedai ini sendiri masih menerima rawatan di Hospital Umum Sarawak.
The incident was believed to have happened at around 10 p.m. when the victims were approached by the 4 suspects when they were about to close for the day. Awang added one of the suspects punched the 53-year-old grocery shop employee, while 3 other suspects stormed into the shop and robbed the shop. As a result, the investigation is being carried out to ensure whether it involves gangsterism activities in the area. He said the case is currently being investigated under Section 394 of the Penal Code. Efforts to track the 4 suspects are ongoing, and members of the public who have any information on the incident are encouraged to inform the police. Meanwhile, the owner of the shop is still receiving treatment at the Sarawak General Hospital after suffering from injuries on the back of his head due from the robbery incident. Now committed to imparting knowledge and wisdom to all their students and producing graduates of the highest caliber.
Embodying this creed, 5 lecturers from Matang Vocational College will be recognized as certified technologists by the Malaysia Board of Technologists, or MBOT.
Lecturers recognized by Malaysia Board of Technologists. This is to improve professional capability besides adding to the total manpower of competent teachers. Programs that also receive certification include cosmetology. Culinary arts, fashion design, automotive technology, electrical technology, electronic technology, construction technology, industry machining technology, and air conditioning technology. For Abang Abdul Malik bin Haji Yusuf, the recognition can espouse his teaching credentials.
Bangga dan juga berharap dengan pengadugahan atau pengakuan kepakaran dalam bidang building construction ni boleh membantu saya dalam bidang pengajaran PDP kepada pelajar dan juga boleh menaik taraf kepada college vocational untuk lebih maju akan datang.
Students are also encouraged to apply for Malaysia Board of Technologies to improve their individual professionalism.
Logis profesional ni sebenarnya taklah berapa sukar sebenarnya. Jadi yang pentingnya adalah berada pada bidang teknologi yang sepatutnya, kemudian memohon kepada pihak MBOT, Malaysia Board of Technologies, mengikut pada saluran ataupun langkah-langkah step yang sepatutnya. Dan yang penting ada sesi temuduga selepas itu untuk dapat penghargaan itu, dan untuk menjadi pakar dalam bidang. Jadi pastikan kita perlu ada cukup knowledge, skill dan mengikuti kursus-kursus dan juga memenuhkan kita punya kepakaran dalam bidang berkaitan.
National Sports Council of Malaysia (NSC) has called for the setting of realistic goals on winning medals in every championship next year, including the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Olympic Council of Malaysia Secretary-General Datuk Muhammad Nazifuddin Muhammad Najib has urged national athletes to focus on their training and preparations for several qualifying meets ahead of next year's Tokyo Olympic. He also added that the athletes' chances of triumphing next year might be affected following their lack of exposure, after most international meets this year were either postponed or cancelled due to COVID-19 pandemic. He said this during the Impian Emas Olympic Tokyo 2020 Pasca COVID-19 satu reality talk show program with fellow moderator Tabas Sazwan Othman. The athletes who have qualified for July 23rd to August 8, 2021 Tokyo Olympics are Khairul Niza Muhammad Afandi and Noor Shazrin Muhammad Latif for sailing, Khairul Anwar Muhammad for archery, Azizul Hasni Awang and Muhammad Shafir Daw Shahram for cycling, Farah and Abdul Hadi for gymnastic, as well as Noor Habita Sabri, Wendy Eng Yan Yi, Pandelela Rinong and Leong Mun Yi for diving.
And that concludes the Nightline. As always, I am Razi Ahmad.
And I'm Cheryl Shamina. As usual, thank you for tuning with TVS Nightline tonight. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night, guys, and stay safe always.
Bye-bye.